endings that we may or may not be getting to. I'm going to lean towards not getting to, but we'll definitely get to some of said endings. I don't know. It's a kid's book, so we were able to get through like a couple indictments in a one stream. So why not? This book was dedicated to Kate, who knows me. The hell does that mean? What does that mean, Jim? Kate, this one, you know, the one where a whole bunch of Irishmen died? This one's for you, kid. You know me. Wink. Beware and warning. You and you alone are in charge of what happens in this story. There are dangers, choices, adventures, and consequences. You must use all of your numerous talents and much of your enormous intelligence. Much of your enormous intelligence. The wrong decision could end in disaster, even death. A whole cruise ship could die. I don't know. But don't despair. At any time, you can go back and make another choice, alter the path of the story, and change its result. It is April 10th, 1912, and you are headed from London to continue studies as a classic pianist. You've already garnered quite a bit of prestige, so your hopes are high. You're traveling on the RMS Titanic under the supervision of your father's business associate, Andrew Temkin. However, your faith in this large ship's infallibility is quickly to be deterred, as these crypts is much too distracted to notice impending icebergs. You'll have to be on your toes every second, or else this voyage is going to end much more abruptly than you'd ever planned, in the icy northern waters of the Atlantic Oceans. Bum, bum, bum. Page 1. You stand on the deck of the RMS Titanic, the brand new White Star ocean liner. She's the biggest, most luxurious ship in the world, and she's on her first voyage across the ocean from Southampton, England to New York City. New York City? The date is April 10th, 1912. The ship has just pulled away from Southampton Quay. Pretty sure that's not how you say that. Quay? And is moving into the river test. A huge crowd walks along the quay. The quay? Following the great ship's progress down the narrow river channel. The Titanic glides by the New York, a smaller ocean liner moored at the side of the river. You watch as the smaller ship is sucked towards the Titanic. Bang, bang, bang! You hear several loud reports, like gunshots. Looking down, you see the ropes holding the moored ship arc high into the air. They must have snapped. The New York begins to swing away from her mooring directly toward the Titanic. Is this not page 1? We're in the 3rd paragraph, and we're already bringing disaster upon this ship. You gasp and grab the railing, expecting a shuddering impact. As you watch, the Titanic slows to a drifting stop, and the bow of the New York swings past her port side. A collision is narrowly avoided. "That was a close one," says a tall, gaunt man standing next to you. He has a pale, lined face with a thin, grim mouth. He speaks with a lilting Scottish accent. "It's a bad way to begin a maiden voyage. A bad omen." I don't know Scottish accents very well. I need to practice them. "Bad omen. Pah!" said a middle-aged Englishman standing nearby. A watch chain hangs from his brocade waistcoat button tightly around his stout middle. He sports great gray mutton chop whiskers. "There's nothing to fear. The technical journals I've read say she's unsinkable. She's a wonder ship. Can't you see? Look here. Look at this design. Hold on. I need to get my pen. Let me get out my pen real quick." It's taking a second for my pen to load. There it is. Look at these sleek angles. Was that joke worth it for a circle? Nope. Aye, says the tall man knowingly. She is indeed a wonder ship, a mighty ship, but the ocean's mightier still. Many a mighty ship has kissed the bottom of the sea. With that, the man turns and walks away. Don't listen to him, says the Englishman. The ship is beautifully engineered. I tell you, she can't sink. Cue the Roar TV channel happening. She can't sink. She's unsinkable. I'll just take a peek right over to the right of the screen. Just somewhere right over here. Like, what's happening? Unsinkable, big guy. What's happening over here on sometime the next day, champ? I don't know what gender we're supposed to be, so until I hear otherwise, I'll just be Rose from Titanic. She is beautiful and enormous, you say, gazing up admiringly. The Titanic is 900 feet long and has 4 huge funnels. Her hull is painted a shiny black and her deck superstructure is white. Her yellow funnels with black tips rise 60 feet above her top deck. It does seem unbelievable that such a massive ship could sink to the bottom of the ocean. Little foreshadowing, champ? Still, the Scotsman comment has you chilled. Oh, so you're an American, says the Englishman. He extends his hand. The name's Stites. Were you on holiday in England? No, you say, shaking his hand. I've been in London for the past month, studying classical piano. A classical pianist, eh? Says Mr. Stites. So you've been in England alone, then? No, my father was with me. He has an important export business. He had to stay in London to meet with a client. I'm returning to New York with his partner. Import-export business, you say? Would the name of your father's partner be Andrew Tempkin? Asks Mr. Stites. You nod and call him a nerd. Yes, I met the chap before we boarded. He told me he bought himself a black Rolls Royce. I was about to say bye, Kitty. I was waiting for it. Yes, it's on board. He's taking it back to New York, you say. You know, you should meet my daughter, Jessica, says Mr. Stites. She's just your age and is a very agreeable lass. I'm sure the two of you will get along famously. She had a go-round with the violin for a time, but science is her wicket. That's where her future's headed, you know. She'll be good company for the voyage. The fact that he's introducing me to Jessica is not necessarily an indication that I'm supposed to be male, like supposed to be. Not that it matters, but I'm just curious whether this is going to, be any romance in the future. How am I supposed to act? It's important to have good acting, a good acting direction. One second. Mr. Stites' mention of Andrew gets you thinking about him and the gold Buddha statues that he and your father imported from Siam. The box containing the statues arrived at the office in London while your father was out. Andrew was excited, but seemed hesitant to open it in your presence. He asked you to run an errand. When you came back, your father had returned, and he and Andrew were examining the 2 statues, each about a foot high. They seemed disappointed. The workmanship was poor. Worse, the statues weren't solid gold, but made of lead painted with gold leaf. Your father grew angry and vowed he'd get even with the Siamese trader who'd cheated him, because he's racist. Andrew supported your father and agreed the trader was a scoundrel. Something about his manner made you suspicious. In contrast to your father's genuine rage, Andrew's reaction seemed mild. You don't trust him, and you aren't happy to be sharing this transatlantic journey with him. Is this me? Is this my face? Oh no, this must be Jessica. Over the next few days, you and Jessica Stites explore the ship. It's like an immense, fancy floating hotel. There's a Turkish bath, a swimming pool, a squash court, a gymnasium, a barber shop, a hospital, a post office, and several restaurants and cafes. Citation needed. Wikipedia needs $3. Late Sunday evening, about 11:30, you and Jessica are in the first-class lounge on A deck. You've been there for a couple of hours playing cards. You're drunk AF. Abruptly, Jessica puts her hands down. I'm bored playing gin rummy. She folds her arms and pouts. Jessica's bright and generally agreeable, but you realize she's a little spoiled. That game was getting boring, especially because you kept winning. Let's go out on deck and see what's going on up forward, you suggest. Same ocean up there that's back here, she answers, still wearing that pouty look. And how about that Marconi room where the radio transmitter is, you ask? I know one of those men who operates the radio there. Wait till you see it. It's huge. That does perk her interest. I'm a nerd. I know more. Wow. Radiograph that immediately. I know Morse code. You know that. My father bet I couldn't learn it, and I did. Cool. Is it too early for a thumbs up joke? I think it is. Here you go. Thumbs up. The Marconi room, the radio shack, is up forward on the port or left of the ship. To get there, you walk along the deck to the other side of the ship. Cool story. You and Jessica shiver in the Arctic air. Overhead, the night sky blazes with stars. Below, the ocean is glassy smooth. You're amazed at how calm the water is. There's not a ripple. Yesterday afternoon, Harold, one of the two radio operators, met you as he was leaving the shack. He invited you to drop by any time. Without knocking, when he said drop by any time, he kind of wanted you to knock, I'm assuming, but whatever. Without knocking, you open the door and go in, like an asshole, Jessica right behind you. A smell of hot electrical insulation hangs in the air. A man is on duty, but it's not Harold. Mind if we watch a minute? You ask. The operator doesn't hear you, or if he does, he's too busy to reply. He's wearing earphones and staring intently at a stack of papers. A blue spark flashes between the contacts of the radio telegraph key he's tapping with his index finger. You're entranced by the rhythmic Morse code and the sparkling light. The message sounds important, but you can't understand it. Jessica does, though. You watch her concentrate on the pulsing beeps as you both stand nervously just outside the door. Look at this guy. Does he not notice you? He's very clearly ignoring you. Like, look at him over here. It's like, and Jessica's like, what does it mean? Suddenly, an incoming signal blares from the earphone so loudly you can hear it across the room. The operator tears his headphones from his ears and smacks the stack of paper. With an exasperated look, he raps back a message. He spots you and says, "Not now, too busy. Later. Out, please." You both nod and duck out the door. What a waste of time. Jessica grabs your arm. That was weird. They were private messages he was sending. He was trying to get someone's nudes. Maybe to a land station for relaying. Messages like, meet you Wednesday noon at the Waldorf Astoria. And then the signal came in. He got flustered and told the guy to shut up and keep the air clear. Another ship must be nearby. What was the other ship saying? You ask. I couldn't get the first part. Something like stopped. Surrounded by ice, Jessica says. Ice? Icebergs, you say. Holy shit, remember what happened to the Titanic? Maybe we're coming into an ice field. Let's go on deck. We might be able to spot some. Icebergs. I'm cold enough already. I'd rather visit my friend the chief baker, Jessica says. He's baking bread right now. Think of it. Hot, fresh bread. Oh, come on. Be a good sport. Let's see if we can spot a few icebergs, then we'll warm up at the baker's, you say. Jessica reluctantly agrees. I'll get the binoculars and meet you on the promenade deck, you add. Turn to page 16. Okay. It seems to have forgotten that this is a choose your own adventure book. Just ignore all that stuff happening. I saw a screen there that was a little bit of a spoiler for later, I'm assuming. But that's the problem with choose your own adventure books. It's like, I wonder at some part, I think the ship might go down. You zip down the stairs to the stateroom you're sharing with Andrew. It's on B deck, a couple of decks below the port side. As you reach your cabin door, you hear a loud voice inside. Safest there, I tell you, no one will think of a car's frame. The voice stops short as you knock a couple times and enter. Andrew. Andrew is talking to a dark-haired man. They both look at you sharply. Sorry, just want to get these, you say. You grab the binoculars from the table and leave. As soon as you're outside, you grimace with disgust. That man is Oscar Kilpatrick, a friend of Andrew's. He's got on the Titanic at Queenstown, Ireland on Thursday afternoon. A lot of backstory on this Titanic. You don't like him. When he boarded, he greeted Andrew, but ignored your offer to shake his hand. Little whiny, but whatever. Oh, is this? So which one is he? I'm guessing this guy's the new guy, and this guy over here is Andrew. So basically, we don't like either guy, and they're both guarding the binoculars. Like, we just need to grab those real quick, and just from the other side of the room. You're still angry about the brush off. That and the man's arrogant and patronizing manner. You have as little trust in Oscar as you do in Andrew. You wish they both would go down in a shipwreck. You don't understand why your father chose Andrew as a partner. Sure, he's sharp in business. Soon, Kitty. Almost. We're almost there. You don't understand why your father chose Andrew as a partner. Sure, he's sharp in business, a real smooth operator, but that's the problem. He's a little too sharp. You stop walking and think, what in the frame of Andrew's car? Safe from what? Andrew's Rolls is in the forward hold number 2, way down on G deck near the bow. You're headed that way. So here's our first choice, Kitty. Do we want to postpone meeting Jessica to explore Andrew's car? We turn to page 42. If we want to meet with Jessica to get binoculars and we don't care about his stupid car, we go up to page 12. Which would you like? The choice is yours while I drink me a big drink of water. That was quick. 1 second. You say page 12? You don't. I'm not really interested in his car either, so that's a good choice. Agreed. Let's head back to page 12. You decide to let the mystery in Andrew's car go for the moment. No one can leave the ship until it docks in New York for a couple days, so it can wait. Jessica is squatting. Gross. Behind the promenade deck railing where it curves around the forward section on the ship on the starboard side. You stand under the bridge with a clear view of the crow's nest, and beyond it, the bow. You hand her the binoculars. It's beastly cold, she chatters after a couple of moments. I can't see any more with these than I can without them. Just smooth black sea. I'm turning in. She hands the binoculars back to you and leaves. For a couple of minutes, you sweep the horizon in front of the Titanic. Just as Jessica said, there's nothing but darkness. The stars look brighter through the binoculars, though. The great bronze capstans near the great bronze capstans near the bow glint under the stars. You train your gaze on the 2 lookouts more than 30 feet above you in the crow's nest. Funny, they don't have binoculars, and they're just making out like crazy, just tongues deep down inside. You sweep the horizon one more time. You catch a point of light that shimmers faintly. It's duller than starlight. Maybe it's reflection? Turn to page 15. What could it be? It kind of looks like... You strain to see. It's massive, filling the view of your binoculars, but fixed so it can't be another sea craft. It glows eerily against the dark sea. The starlight bounces off its reflective edges so that it looks all lit up as a small city in the distance. It's an iceberg! Wow! You gasp like a nerd. The lookouts are staring right in its direction, but they can't see it without binoculars. You keep watching as the iceberg
somewhere between 700 billion and $1,300,000,000,000,000.
You keep watching as 300 million billion icebergs get bigger. Do you dare run up to the bridge where no passengers are allowed and warn the officer on duty? Or should you tip off the lookouts and let them deal with it? Maybe you should wait a little until it can be seen more clearly. Okay, Kitty, here's our next option. If you go to the bridge, turn to page 24. If you turn to the lookouts and call out to them, turn to pag 20. If you take time to make sure it's an iceberg before going for help, turn to page 11. Willow, what do you choose? That's not an option. Try again. Nope. She chooses death on the Titanic as it's sinking. Nope, keep going. There we go. She chooses to call out to the lookouts. What do you think, Kitty? I think if it were me, I don't know. Man, I don't know. I love that it's also got a typo. Turn to page 24. You want to go to the bridge? Okay. We shall go to the bridge. Go to page 24. We're going to get thrown in the brig. You watch. You ignore your fear, running up the steps to the bridge at the topmost deck. It's called the boat deck, and it's where the lifeboats are. You're in luck. First Officer Murdoch, who lets you look at the bridge on the other night, is on duty. "Sir," you say, gasping for breath as you open the door. "Iceberg!" You point dead ahead. Murdoch whips his binoculars up, stares intently for a second, and leaps to the wheelhouse. "Hard a starboard!" he commands the man at the wheel. Your heart pounds. From inside the bridge, you watch the dark mass grow distinct through the binoculars. Clear now is the triangle peak that you saw reflecting in the starlight. It's getting bigger. Half a minute goes by, and still the Titanic hasn't begun to turn. Why isn't she bloody turning? Then two things happen. The bronze bell in the crow's nest rings 3 times. They've spotted the danger. Little late, champs! And then the ship's bow starts to slowly move to port. You watch it trace a smooth arc against the few low-hanging stars near the horizon. Your mouth opens. The iceberg's tip looks as high as the Titanic's bridge. It seems certain the ship is going to smash into the looming, glistening mountain of ice. A few minutes later, the bow clears the iceberg and the Titanic surges past it. "Lord, narrow shave," the junior officer on the bridge mutters shakily. Murdoch walks over to you and says, "I shall commend your action to the captain." You're not certain what that means. "Just luck, I guess," you say, trying to cover up the fact that you're breathing hard from excitement and fear. Should the ship go slower tonight if there are more icebergs?" "Thanks. Visibility is excellent tonight. Time for you to leave now. We have work to do," he says with a smile. As you leave, you overhear him tell a man who's just come onto the bridge, "Mr. Oliver, take these glasses to Fleet and Lee in the crow's nest." Turn to page 26. So we told him, and we saved the Titanic, but they're still going to go at like Mach 6. The next evening, you're sitting at the captain's table as the guest of honor, along with Andrew and your friend Jessica. The table is in a recessed bay of the huge first-class dining room. The room is beautiful, with splendid white walls and a molded ceiling. The captain is an old, white-haired man with a mustache. His voice is slow, low, soft, reassuring. Also at the table is a quiet man, Mr. Ismay, head of the White Star Line. He and the captain have promised you a special tour of the Titanic from stem to stern, all decks with an engineer to answer your decks about the super powerful steam engines. Who is this? Is this Jessica or is this me? Whoever it is, they don't look super happy to be at the captain's table. I'm not gonna lie. The whole evening seems unreal, but soon you and Jessica become bored with the polite conversation. God, I wish I wish we would have hit that iceberg. You've got something else on your mind anyway. The mystery of what's in Andrew's car. Fuck that iceberg. I want to know about his car. This has been bothering you ever since you overheard Andrew and Oscar's conversation. Whatever it is, you suspect it's illegal. Andrew seems nervous. He's talking loudly to Mr. Ismay about a shipment of his and your father's. Turn to next page. Look at this guy. Over at another table, you see Oscar Kilpatrick. He looks nervous too. Dinner's over. You're trying to figure out the best way to get a look at that car. First, you have to find out something. Captain, sir, when do you expect us to dock in New York City? You ask. Tuesday evening, he answers. We're making good time. Again, thanks to you. Tuesday evening? That's tomorrow night. Earlier than expected. God, I wish the ship would have hit the iceberg. Doesn't give us much time to search the car. During a pause in the conversation, you and Jessica politely excuse yourself and leave. Jessica, tonight's the night to explore Andrew's car, you say outside the dining room. We may dock tomorrow night. I'm ready, says Jessica. She slips back to her father's cabin to get his new battery-powered light. Was that a thing in 1912? Did they have battery-powered lights? Or torches, as it were? You meet Jessica at the forecastle entrance and descend the spiral staircase to the car hold, 5 decks below the entrance. It's quiet in the hold, with only the steady hum of the ship's engines vibrating the deck. You locate Andrew's black Rolls-Royce and with the help of Jessica's flashlight and the car's toolkit, explore the frame. On the driver's side, you discover 2 oblong objects wrapped in white cloth. We're going to save the Titanic and end up at a watery grave anyways. These guys are going to put a bullet in us and put us into the ocean. You manage to slide one out of the frame. It lands on the wood deck with a dull thud. Jessica pulls the wrapping back and off to reveal a gleaming metal bar. It's gold, you exclaim. Gold? What's Andrew doing with gold hidden in his car? Jessica asks. I think I know, you reply. I think the gold is my father's. Do you know who my father even is? No. We'd better get the other one out and take them with us. But what will we do with them? And what do you mean? You think the gold belongs to your father? She asks. I'll explain later. Help me get the other one out. I don't think Andrew has a chance to check the car before the ship docks. You're sure the bars are from the gold statues. Andrew probably replaced the real statues with lead counterfeits and then melted the originals down into these ingots. Now he's trying to smuggle them into the United States, and somehow Oscar's involved in the scam. But the bars are too heavy to carry, protests Jessica. And what if Oscar of Andrew decides to check the car? We could be in big trouble. She's right. The bars are heavy, and you're not sure where to hide them. On the other hand, few people are wandering around this late at night. No one is likely to see you. You need just 10 minutes or less to get the bars out of the hold and into a safe place above decks. Here we go, kitty. If you take the gold ingots out of the car hold, turn to page 36. So, long story short, we found a bunch of gold in the car. The gold in the car was from those gold statues we were bringing back. This other guy melted them down, turned the gold into ingots, and made new statues out of lead that are real shit. One sec, I'm gonna take a drink. So if we leave the gold, we are probably going to be more safe, I guess. But if we take the gold with us, this might be the last chance we ever get to take the gold. And I mean, if we don't take the gold, what are we even doing here, you know? Willow, what you got? Boop. She wants us to take the gold out of the car hold. That's page 36. So I think we're going to die anyway. I mean, not necessarily. We saved the ship. We might not die 100%, you know? Should we take the gold with us? I like how looking over the next page, you can see it's safer to leave the gold. Yeah, nerd. Okay. Page 36, please. I don't know what that page was, but it looked like spoilers. Duh! How do I see where my pages are? There we go. Even if Andrew and Oscar check the car and find the gold missing, there's no reason they would suspect us, you reassured Jessica. Besides, once the ship docks, we may never get a chance to get the gold. You and Jessica each take a bar and slip it under your jackets. We can't risk hiding them in our cabins. Let's stash them in one of the lifeboats, you say, weirdly. That's the best option you got? It's difficult keeping the heavy bar hidden under your jacket as you ascend the spiral staircase. You climb 3 more flights to reach the boat deck where the lifeboats are located. It's on a level with the bridge. A short distance down from the deck, you see a figure emerge from a doorway. Quick, you whisper to Jessica. We've got to dump this gold. You shove the ingots into the canvas covering of the lifeboat nearest you. Hey there, says the man. You recognize the voice. It's Oscar. What are you two doing here? I thought you'd gone to bed. We decided to stroll around the ship first. You say, trying to sound nonchalant. Why are you hanging around the lifeboats? Oscar asks. He looks suspicious. We're just checking out the davits to see how they work, you say. Well, we're gonna turn in. See you later. You hurry away with Jessica. Well, we played that well. Phew, I was close, you say to Jessica when you're out of Oscar's earshot. You think he saw the ingots? Jessica asks. No, it was too dark, you say, with more confidence than you feel. You turn back to see Oscar just slowly peek his head out. No, it was too dark, you say, with more confidence than you feel. How are we going to get the gold when the ship docks tomorrow? Asked Jessica. When the first-class passengers are lining up to disembark, meet me by the lifeboat with a small carrying case, you say. We'll each carry off an ingot as part of our luggage. Just be sure not to let anyone touch your case. When you dock, everything goes as planned. There's just one moment of panic when Oscar offers to carry your case, but you insist on carrying it yourself. You just hope you haven't aroused his suspicions by being too insistent. Turn to page 39. Oh. You, Andrew, Jessica, and the father are staying at the Waldorf Astoria. You arrange to stay with Jessica and her father, figuring it safer place for you and the gold. On the first night, Mr. Stites goes to visit a friend. You and Jessica stay behind in the hotel room to discuss what to do with the gold. I think I should telegram my father and tell him what's happening, you say. There's a knock at the door. You exchange glances. Neither of you is expecting anyone. The knock is repeated. Cautiously, you open the door a crack. The first thing you see is the dull glare of a pistol, followed by Oscar's hog-like face. His angry sneer reveals confidence that he's going to get what he wants. I think you better let me in, he says. So this is him right here. He has he is unhappy with us. Okay, kid, where's the gold? Oscar growls. And don't play dumb. I know you've got it here. You nod to Jessica, who opens her case, revealing the bar of gold. Oscar immediately strides forward to examine it. For a moment, he stands with his back to you, ignoring you. You creep up behind him with your case containing the other ingot and with all your strength, strike him in the back of the head. He instantly crumples to the floor. Ta-da! Time to call the police, you say to Jessica, and explain everything. Andrew and Oscar are arrested for grand larceny. You receive commendation for your role in saving the Titanic and your brave actions leading to the arrest of the criminals. Best of all, your father agrees to split the profits from the sale of the gold with you, and you're able to buy the grand piano of your dreams. The end. We did it. We didn't die. I think that's what happens. Every time I actually have you do something, Kitty, it actually works. Like every time I choose something, it ends up being a failure. So one of the first ending... Hold on, can't actually see it. So our first ending is Titanic saved. Oscar and Andrew jailed. We get the gold and get to buy piano. So that is the first of the endings. But what happens if maybe, just maybe, it didn't happen like that? What if we got to the bridge and we got to the iceberg, and instead of going to the bridge, we decided to go with Willow's option, and we call out to the lookouts, and we turn to PAG 20. What happens then? Uh-oh. Is this me? I don't think this is me. You need some more time. Wait, was this the right one? I don't remember what page I was on. I thought that page 20 was the right one. If you call to the lookouts, turn to page 20. Yep, that's the page I wanted. You need some more time. To get a better view, you run up the steep stairway leading to the promenade deck to the boat deck. Before you get there, 3 distinct rings from the lookout warning bell tell you that they've spotted something. Is this just wrong? Like, is PAG 20 not the right PAG? Did they like screw up the thing? I'm gonna run with it, but we'll have to come back to that page maybe, because I think they screwed up the pages. You see a huge iceberg looming in the darkness ahead and coming closer. There's a slight grinding noise as the Titanic brushes the iceberg, and then it's over. The iceberg glides swiftly out of sight and into the darkness astern. You hear something crash onto the deck below. You poke at the ice that's down in the well deck and push the forecastle door open. Maybe you can find out if any water is leaking into the ship near the bow where the berg struck. It's quiet. The constant humming and jangling vibration from the ship's woodwork and glass fixtures has stopped. That's strange. You peer down to the forecastle's spiral stairs. 3 or 4 decks below, a big blonde man with a couple of companions starts climbing the stairs. His feet and legs are dripping, and he's carrying his belongings. "Ship taking water?" you call out. "Right she is," he yells up with a Swedish accent. A nervous thrill runs up through you at his words. Then your heart jumps when you see a tumble of bright green seawater foam around the spiral stairway several decks beneath him. The Titanic is in trouble. "Come, we're going to the stern. It's dry there," he shouts. He beckons you to follow. You've never met this man, but you immediately trust him. That seems like a mistake. It's a long trek to the E-deck passageway to the stern. The man shows you into the third-class smoking room. Pine paneling covers the walls. Your friend finds the bar closed, so he persuades someone to start playing dance tunes on the piano. I beg your pardon? What? What's happening? A cluster of men, women, and children swarm into the large room carrying water-soaked luggage. Some of them are crying. Your friend and the others laugh at the new group and begin a weird circle dance around them to try and cheer them up. Weird, you think. The ship has hit an iceberg and no one's doing anything. You leave and go forward towards the lifeboats. A crowd of people is gathered in the first-class lounge, laughing and joking. The entire ship's band is even playing some lively ragtime music. Don't these people know what's going on? You wonder, really confused. Near lifeboat number 3 on the forward starboard deck, First Officer Murdoch is talking to Captain Smith. This is in a timeline where we didn't save the Titanic. Some men are uncovering the lifeboats. A group of passengers, some with lifebelts on, stands around. "Women and children first," says Officer Murdoch as the captain goes off to the bridge. Murdoch stands near a boat and motions the women passengers on while more people slowly appear on the deck from their cabins below. Excitement is in the air. At least something is happening. The Titanic's been boring till now. The boat is now half full of women and children. A few men even get in it. You, with the binoculars, know anything about open boats? We're short of crew on number 7 here. I want to send her down now, Murdoch says, looking at you. If you say, yes, I do, and step forward, turn to page 80. If you say, I think I'd do better helping load boats, turn to page 90. So do we say, yes, I do, and step forward, page 80, or do we say, I think I'd do better helping load boats? I think 80 is getting onto the boat and traveling to safety, but I could be wrong on that one. You decide? Okay. I don't really understand what it's saying either. I'm gonna pick the. First of all, Willow, what do you pick? You're close. So close. So close. Give me anything nearby. Okay, she's no help. I think I'm going to say yes, I do, and step forward like a coward. Yep, that's what I was going to. So, good call. You turn to 80 and see a surprisingly sexy man. I think I'd help more by loading boats. Am I stupid? I'm sorry. What was page 90 then? Are all the pages transposed? That said, am I crazy? Because I picked yes I do, and that was page 80, wasn't it? Whatever. You step forward. Yes, I do. Hands help you over the rail into lifeboat number 7. The seaman from the Titanic in charge of the boat tells you to stand in the center while he fits the plug, which covers the boat's rainwater drain into the boat's bottom. You feel a quick flood of fear. You wish you were back on the ship with all the people and music and bright lights. You peer over the side. It looks 1,000,000 feet to the glassy sea below, and you feel funny about being the first to leave. What if it's a false alarm? What about Jessica and Andrew? Who even cares? It's a long way down, about 70 feet. Not to worry, we'll make it, the seaman says to you. 92. Go to page 92. Oh god, is this the seaman? Cool. I see that all of this space is not taken up by people trying to get off the boat, so that's cool. The order is given. Crewmen on the deck pull on lifelines, and the lifeboat swings off of its davits, clear of the Titanic in a series of alarming jerks. Crewmen struggle to lower the bow and stern fall lines evenly to the water, but it's hard to do. The lifeboat tips so low on the bow end that everybody aboard starts screaming. "Let's bow line!" you shout for some reason, until they eventually stop letting it out. Why are they listening to me? On the water, you start pulling on one of the 4 oars. It's hard work. No one is used to such a large, open boat. It's only supposed to hold about 65 people, but the boat's only half full. Hold the blade of the oar like this, you show a young woman sitting across from you. Thanks, I'm just so nervous, she says. Do you really think the Titanic is going to sink? A sharp explosion rips over the still waters with amazing timing. From the bridge, a white rocket sails up and arcs through the night. It detonates with a boom and sends out a cluster of white twinkling stars. Turn to page 110. I think this is when they sent out the flare, right? The boat! It reminds you of the 4th of July. You look at your watch. It's 12:45, an hour since the Titanic struck the iceberg. That's your answer, miss, the seaman says. She's signaling for help. Any help now. Do you suppose they've seen something? Because I got in the boat, that was the game's way, or the book's way of saying, are you a boy or a girl? I need a drink real quick. 1 second. They said women and children only in the boat, so I guess that makes sense. Do you suppose they've seen something? You ask. You stand and scan the horizon with your binoculars. To the north, you spot some lights. Look, ship lights, you shout. The seaman confirms your find. Looks like a steamer. 2 lights, one on the foremast, the other on a mainmast. Looks like she's headed this way. If you suggest turning for the ship, turn to page 120. If you want to wait near the well-lit Titanic for the ship to come to you, turn to page 114. Okay, here's what I'm thinking. If we wait here, we're going to be swamped. Because people getting off of the Titanic and getting into the water, they're going to try to get into our boat. So I feel like if we stay by the well-lit Titanic, that will be our death bell. That said, if we don't head for the ship, or if we do head for the ship, then maybe it will end up crashing into us or something. I'm not sure. If you have a preference, I will say, go let me know. Do you want us to head for this incoming ship, or do we want to wait near the Titanic? Duh. I think I say that we head for the ship, is my suggestion. That's what I think I'm going to do. It's 120 or 114. Is it the right number? Okay, so this one's right. 120 is the correct one. Let's row toward the boat. Look, the Titanic is signaling again, you say. Another rocket booms off of the ship's bridge. That ship's got to notice. Right, let's pull for her then, says the seaman. The one other crewman aboard the Titanic nods. No one's gonna help us but ourselves. Rowing is hard work, but it keeps you from freezing in the cold air. In fact, you get so hot that you give your coat to a shivering man. We're not getting any closer to that ship, you say, peering through your binoculars at the ship's lights. A few minutes pass. I think that steamer is going away, says the seaman. All I see is a stern light. It's getting fainter. The lifeboat is now miles from the Titanic. About half an hour ago, the Titanic stopped sending up distress rockets. It looks like the boat is moving away, but you know it's sinking. You feel panic, thinking you're going to be left alone in this tiny lifeboat. The other people in the lifeboat are also full of doubts. Let's turn back. We should have stayed with the other lifeboats. We're lost. Everyone's shouting now. All of the lights from the Titanic wink out. The strange steamer's lights are fading. It doesn't seem to matter much what you do now. Uh-oh. Does that mean we're on a path to death? Is this the last, the last thread of Morrowind has been cut? This ship actually looks pretty full. The White Star Line hires several ships to search the sea for bodies. Several weeks later, one of the ships finds lifeboat number 7 still floating, but no survivors on board. The end. Oh, shit. Oh, that sucks. So wait, they combed the sea for weeks and they didn't see our tiny ass ship? Okay. So our next ending, we tried to paddle towards the ship we saw in the distance. It got away and we were left by ourselves and froze to death. The end. So it was 114, right? Wasn't that the other one? I think it was 114. You decide it's safer to stick close to the mothership. Another rocket goes off from the Titanic's bridge. That steamer's got to see the distress signals, you think. An hour passes. The steamer's lights disappear, and more lifeboats join you in the dark water. Some of them are full, some are only half full. Depends on how you look at life, I guess. The boats group not far from the Titanic, like children afraid to leave a parent. The Titanic's bow steadily sinks under the water. The decks and portholes are still ablaze with lights. The boat looks like a vast, broken texture. Hold on. The boat looks like a vast F5. The boat looks like a vast palace that's askew and tipping. All the lifeboats have left the ship now, and masses of people swarm back toward the stern to escape the black water welling up into the ship's horrifying submerging decks. Fascinated, you watch the horrifying gradual disappearance of the ship. The entire forward well deck is underwater. Toward the bow, you see portholes still gleaming under it. The Titanic looks eerily beautiful, like a supernatural sea creature glowing underwater. This guy, like, just seeing this dead guy is somewhat less artistic and dramatic. Steeper and steeper, the ship cants downward into the sea. A roar from inside, like tons of gravel and rocks running down the steel chute, sweeps across the water. The engines and all movable interior parts, boilers, coal freights, and pianos and furniture are crashing towards the bow. Oh god, my piano. The first funnel, we don't even have the gold. The first funnel and then the second comes smashing down into the water into a spray of red sparks and steam. Over half the length of the ship is underwater now. Higher and steeper the stern rises, all lights aglow. Then the lights go out, and you're alone in the dark. Crackling sounds as sharp as cannon shots resound clearly from the water. The Titanic breaks in two between the third and fourth funnels, and sparks from the tearing, shearing metal dance into the water. The whole forward 2/3 of the ship sinks. For a few minutes, the aft third of the Titanic levels as if it has stopped sinking, but it's a big ass. It just hangs. In a moment, the broken end sinks into the water as well, and the stern points higher and higher until it stands vertical. 1 second. Wouldn't that ship pull everything in its vicinity down? Like the swimmers, yes, but the lifeboats would have been fine as long as they weren't like right next to the ship. As long as they weren't like had their balls touching the Titanic, they should have been fine. But the swimmers, yeah, that part was somewhat realistic. For a few minutes, the aft third of the Titanic levels as if it has stopped sinking. In a moment, the broken end sinks into the water as well, and the stern points higher and higher until it stands vertical. The words Titanic Liverpool point straight up into the stars. With hundreds of people clinging to rails, stanchions, and ventilators, the remaining section of the ship descends straight down like a gliding elevator. Gone. A sigh seems to go up from the water surrounding the sinking ship. It's echoed by gasps from the lifeboat standing by. A shouting, crying chorus of voices swells louder and louder as the ship disappears and darkness returns. "Oh Lord, it's people in the water," a voice says behind you. "They look like floating seagulls," another says. "It's their white lifebelts," you say. "Let's see if we can rescue some of them. We're only half full." "They'll freeze to death in this water in a half hour or less," says one of the crew members. "But there isn't enough lifeboats for everyone." "They'll swamp our boat," shouts a passenger. "Then we'll all die, freezing in the water." "We can't just leave them to drown or freeze to death," says the woman at an oar beside you. "Let's row," you say. The two of you start, and the seaman at the tiller turns the boat towards the mass of people in the water, yelling for help. The other two people are at the oars, refuse to row at first, then make feeble rowing motions. Even not rowing hard, it's easy to cover the 600 yards back to the floating survivors. It's a gory sight. There are so many people in the water. There must be hundreds and hundreds, you think. As you near the struggling bodies, you worry about the boat being swamped with those trying to climb aboard. But people are so frozen after a few minutes in the water, they have no strength to hold on to the boat, much less swamp it. In fact, it's exhausting work trying to get a few loads of swimmers over the 3-foot-high sides of the lifeboat. Their soaked clothes and bulky life belts made it slow going. Most of the rescued lie at the bottom of the lifeboat, moaning. Some are very still and appear frozen. At last, someone on your boat begins to row towards the other lifeboats. You and the other seamen are worn out from the work. Dawn is breaking, and a wind begins to blow. A shout goes up from some boats in the distance. Your binoculars show a steamer making speed in your direction. She's sending up rockets to show that she's seen you. Rescue! Well, why didn't that work in the other timeline? Why didn't they find us because we rowed for a half hour last time? I don't understand. I'm sure they didn't go on any more cruises, let me say that. You never forget the eerie, calm night the Titanic sank. You don't forget the sounds the helpless people in the water made. Of the 18 lifeboats that were launched that night, only your lifeboat and one other one went back to help. The others, most of them with extra room, just rested their oars. The end. We paddled our lifeboat back towards the mass of people. Saved some, and we got rescued ourselves. The end. But what happens if instead of that, we return to the car with Jessica before the lifeboat, before all of that happened? What happens on page 45? Like, what if instead of going up to investigate the icebergs, we go talk to Jessica instead and check out the car? As you and Jessica climb the forecastle spiral staircase, a rat scurries down the deck and vanishes behind a capstan. Where's the car? Asked Jessica. On G deck, I think, but look, it's too late. It's partly underwater. Wait, what? Is it wait, what? Oh. Wait, I see. I'm on the wrong trail here. I want to go to page 19. Here we go. We want to postpone meeting Jessica to explore Andrew's car. So instead of going up to check out the icebergs at all, we're going to go check out Andrew's car on page 42. So this is going to be interesting because I think we're going to the Titanic is just about to hit an iceberg, so we really shouldn't be in the cargo hold. This might be an icy death for us. Although that said, the car is fine in the other timelines, so. You hurry towards the forward well deck, which shelters you from the icy air. And cross to the forecastle entrance towards the bow. You descend a steep spiral staircase and reach the car hold, 5 decks below the forecastle entrance. Inside the hold, it's quiet and smells of motor oil. Light gleams off the black Rolls Royce. Thick ropes around each axle anchor the car securely to the hold deck. You look around. You seem to be alone. You explore the car's frame. It's made of large, pipe-like tubes. On the driver's side, you spot a metal end plate that seals one of the hollow tubes. You find a wrench in the car's toolkit, remove the bolts, and pull the plate off. You strain to see inside. It's too dark. You light a match. The flame reveals a foreign object lodged inside. You barely make out 2 rectangular objects wrapped in white cloth. The match dies and you haven't gotten another. Well, you find a wire and manage to hook one bundle and gently tug up the frame tube. It falls onto the deck with a dull thud. Some of the cloth rips away. The next match you light reveals a bar of shiny metal, almost a foot long. Gold, you whisper to yourself. It's a gold ingot. What are gold ingots doing in Andrew's car? Then it comes to you. Of course, the gold Buddha statues were fakes. These must be the real statues. Andrew is the one who swapped the gold statues with counterfeits and then had the original statues melted into bars. And now he's TLDR from last time. And now he's smuggling them into the United States. The ingots are far too big for you and heavy for you to lug away alone. You decide to replace the gold bar and get above deck where you belong. You pause for a second. Are those footsteps you hear approaching? Your heart beats hard. No one comes. You rewrap the ingot. You kneel half under the car, stuff the ingot back into the frame, and bolt the plate back on. Brang! A deafening noise and shockwave reverberates through the car hold. The sound is like a huge steel vault door banging shut, but it lasts longer, tapering off into a series of rending, ripping sounds. A sudden vibration lifts the car body around you. Turn to page 50. 1 second. When we get our next ending, we'll take a break. You scream and cover your hand with your head, but the car body settles back down without touching you. Feeling foolish, you roll out from under the car and run to the forecastle stairway. Did the Titanic hit something? The sound came from below. You rush down the stairs to investigate. Below is another cargo deck. You open the door and see large, neatly stacked cases. You don't know what you're looking for, but you feel a vague dread. You descend to the bottom of the stairs. Now you're at the bottom of the ship. A sign on the door reads, Fireman's Passage, crew only. When you open it, you hear a hissing and gurgling. Water. A man hurries towards you along a passageway from the boiler rooms. Foaming green seawater is rising above the walkway. Sloshing through the swirling water, the man shouts, She's taking water clear back to number 5 boiler room. She's a goner, mate. Better clear out. You run up the stairs after him. At the car hold door, you pause. The gold! Should you save it, or should you get back up on deck? If you open the car hold door and try to salvage the gold, turn to page 41. If you continue up the stair to the well deck, you can see what Jessica and see what's happening up there, turn to page 46. Okay. It is time to take a break real quick. So next time we come back, do we want to get the gold, or do we want to actually try and save our own lives? You want to try and save our own lives? Okay, we'll do that after we come back. Let's do ads. I'll be right back. Okay. We back? Am I back? Anybody back there? There we go. Duck's back. Okay, so what did you say, Kitty? You wanted to go... You don't want to go for the gold? You want to go up to the stairwell and see what's happening there? Okay. Probably a smart move. You don't want to, New Vegas dead money it, I guess. It probably makes sense. Excuse me. You hesitate, your hand on the door. You sense no vibration, none of the humming sounds a powered steamship makes. The engines must have been stopped, you think. Stopped. Surrounded by ice was the message that the other ship radioed. Did the Titanic hit an iceberg? You leap up from the forecastle stairway to look for Jessica. Two crew members hurry down the stairs. That iceberg was as dull as a ship. Lucky we just nicked it. Check the bow compartments and back to the boiler rooms. We may be taking water. Not likely. The iceberg just grazed her. That's what you think. You think. Now that's some writing right there. That's what you think. She's taking lots of water. That's what you think. You can't write that. On the well deck, the open area between the Titanic superstructure and the forecastle, you spot Jessica. She and some others are playing soccer with a chunk of ice. There must be tons of ice lying in heaps on the well deck. Jessica kicks a big chunk to you. Where have you been? Where are the binoculars you were sent to get? You must have seen the iceberg the ship hit. It was huge. I left the binoculars down below, you say. I pull her aside and tell her about the gold in the rolls frame. Jets of steam are blasting from the escape pipes mounted on the 3 forward tunnels. I have a feeling no one on the ship is taking this very seriously. I feel like at this point in the story, in every timeline we've been in, I feel like in the real, in the actual Titanic tragedy, people were a bit more upset than they let on. In this story, at least. You guess the ship is releasing pressure in the boilers now that the engines are stopped. You don't say, Jessica exclaims. Gold! What are you going to do about it? I'd like to get it back to my father somehow, you say, or at least let him know that Andrew's cheating him. I think this is what we were doing before. Well, says Jessica, we could go back to the car and get the gold out. I'd like to see those gold bricks. Yes, but I don't want to draw attention to ourselves, you say. I don't want Andrew or Oscar getting suspicious. Anyway, this iceberg hit seems kind of serious. Why are we stopped? The Titanic is motionless. Passengers up on the promenade deck walk arm in arm, talking and laughing and pointing at the ice in the well deck where you're standing. Why? Look over there. 2 girls are having a snowball fight with chunks of ice. Plumes of steam rise high above the resting ship. The roar of escaping steam sounds ominous, and as though the ship were in pain. What should you do? Should we return to the car with Jessica? Wasn't the car underwater? If you ask Jessica to explore aft along the passenger decks with you, turn to page 52. So we can go back to the car with Jessica, or we can ask Jessica to explore aft along the passenger decks with us. So page 45 or 52. In that order. What is the benefit to going down the passenger decks? I'm not sure we're actually going to be saving anybody else. What does Willow have to say? I'm going to move this to the middle. I think more of them are in the middle. There we go. Willow! Nope. Nope. Alright, that's fine. I think, unless Kitty has a different suggestion, that if we go back and get the gold, we're just going to go into the same exact scenario as the first time. I'm pretty sure. We're going to get the gold, and we're going to go up to the deck, and we're going to hide the gold in the lifeboat. Exactly the same. I don't know. Thanks, Kitty. Let's do 52. Jessica, you say, water's rising down the car hold. It's too risky. Let's see if we can find an officer and get some information. Maybe it's serious. Why else would they stop the ship? They're really not taking the water pouring into the ship very seriously, are they? You climb up to the starboard promenade deck. Through the windows of the smoking room, you see groups of men laughing and talking. No one's even looking outside. You can't find any officers, so Jessica goes to find her family. You stop by your cabin. Andrew's in bed. Andrew, you better get up, you say, jostling him awake. We've hit an iceberg. It doesn't look good. A lot of water's coming in. An iceberg? I didn't feel a thing. I'm a light sleeper, he says, sitting up on the edge of his bed. No worry. The ship's supposed to be unsinkable. It's not typical to have water ankle deep in the hallways of a cruise ship. Agreed, Kitty. Like, if there is a lot... I feel like if I remember right, there was a little bit of a flood on the family cruise that we went on when we were kids. It was very small, and they were very quick to be like, no, it's okay. It's okay, trust us. It's just a little water. It's all good. Better get ready, just in case, you say. Maybe you should check with our steward to see if you can find him. I'm going to try and find out as much as I can. You think of going directly to the bridge this time, even though it's not allowed. Your hunch is that the man from the boiler room who told you that the Titanic's a goner is right, but no one else seems to know or care. High up on the top deck, the boat deck, is the bridge, the Titanic's command post. It also is where the lifeboats sit. You peer into a half-open window of the enclosed part of the bridge. Captain Smith and another man are examining a blueprint. You remain silent. Well, sir, I give her an hour and a half at most, says the man who looks familiar to you. I'll have the lifeboats readied, says Captain Smith. The lifeboat capacity is about 1,000. There's more than 2,000 people aboard, the man says. Women and children first, says the captain. A man approaches the bridge and you slip away in the other direction, horrified at the information you've just overheard. Your hunch was right, as it always is. The Titanic is doomed, and there's not enough lifeboat space for everyone. Your watch says 15 minutes past midnight. It's been about half an hour since the Titanic hit the iceberg. With these guys, well, a whole bunch of Irish people are going to die, sir. Well, save the women. Save the women! You feel numb. You can't believe that this wonder ship, that this wonder ship is going to sink. It feels like a rock under your feet. It feels so big, and the sea's so calm. Walking down several decks aft towards Jessica's cabin, you know it's true. The Titanic is sinking. What can you do if there aren't enough lifeboats? Freeze to death. That's what you'll do. You recall suddenly who that man with Captain Smith is. He's the ship's engineer. He showed you around the ship's workshop. You saw carpentry supplies, planks, ropes, and barrels. With help, you could build a decent raft in under an hour. I beg your pardon? Outside Jessica's cabin's crates and barrels. You feel a flutter of panic. She's not there. Maybe there's no time to build the raft, and you should just concentrate on finding your friend. Screw that. We're going to build a raft. See ya, Jessica. I'm commandeering this trip. We're going to page 59. Jessica's... This isn't right. No, again, it's backwards. 56. On your way to the workshop, you decide to stop at the baker's. You might be able to get some provisions for your raft. What? Did we just steal food? Just go by, just grab a couple loaves. Gotta provision the raft. We'll never sail away from Destiny Island without these. On your way to the workshop, you decide to stop. I already had that. You descend the first-class staircase, go through a door, and down more stairs to the vast kitchens on D-deck amidships. The smell of fresh bread starts your mouth watering. Let me put it this way. We in timeline 2, sat in a perfectly functional lifeboat and froze to death for weeks. And we think that building a boat out of barrels and logs were going to be somewhat safer. There aren't enough lifeboats. I'm going to build a raft. Can you spare some bread? You ask a burly man pulling a batch of bread out of the oven. A raft? Seems a bit far-fetched to me. Does to me too, says the baker. We're taking this bread up to stock the boats, but I can give you a loaf. Good luck. As you start to leave with the loaf tucked under your arm, a voice calls out from behind. Hey, mate. Your raft sounds like a good idea to me. You turn to see one of the bakers walking towards you. Mind if I join you? It might be the only way out for the likes of us. Name's McCracken, he says. You shake his flowery hand that he extends out to you. Yeah, I could use your help, Mr. McCracken, you say. Come on. On your way to your stateroom, you hear a voice boom, Women and children to the boats first, please. It sounds like it's coming through a megaphone way up forward. Did they have those back in the early 1900s? Hey, where have you been? Scrounging for bread at a time like this? You don't mind if I have a piece, do you? Asked Jessica. She and Andrew are standing just outside the stateroom door. You introduce them to McCracken and outline your plan. Jessica says she'll help with the raft. Her father has gone up with the lifeboats. Andrew, up and dressed now, says, I've checked with one of the ship's officers. You're right, it's women and children first, and there aren't enough lifeboats. I'm for the raft. I didn't invite you. I don't think the Titanic will sink, but just in case, no one can live in the North Atlantic long. That freezing water's certain death. I mean, you can go, but I did not invite you onto this pleasure boat, my guy. Like, you've been a jerk this whole book. Just to load page 69. Thinking about it. Here. I'll have it reload or refresh. It takes you, Andrew, Jessica, and McCracken half an hour to haul a pile of planks, hammers, nails, and floats for flotation up to the aft wheel deck. It's the best place to build a raft. The Titanic is sinking bow first. The aft well deck is open, near the supplies, and a good location to launch the craft from. The Titanic's bow is noticeably lower, though, and the well deck is slowly tipping to one side. She's listing to port now, Jessica says. She nails a large platform of planks she's laid out to 4 cross timbers. Everyone's below decks bound back here, you say. It's weird. What's going down back there? Says all I see is poop down there at the bottom right. Says a loud voice from the aft bridge that runs along the poop deck in the stern. It's Quartermaster Rowe, one of the ship's helmsmen. We're building a raft. There aren't enough lifeboats, sir. We're building a raft. There aren't enough lifeboats, sir, says McCracken. Lifeboats? What? No one's told me anything. However, that's ship's property you're using. You're unauthorized to do that, he says. He looks angry. Call the bridge, sir, you shout up to him. We hit an iceberg an hour again. Look, there's a lifeboat. Yeah, we're just over here, Dead Rising crafting recipe. We're getting our crafting bench out from Minecraft. You point to the starboard side of the wheel deck. A lifeboat drifts slowly astern, illuminated by the blazing lights from the Titanic's upper decks. My God, says the quartermaster, and he picks up the aft bridge telephone. A minute later, where's he been? A minute later, he rushes off the bridge, goes below, and disappears forward carrying a metal case. Communication could be better on this ship, says McCracken. Well, what we have to figure out now is how to get this monster over the side without smashing it or having it fall into the water below. McCracken, Andrew, and you fit empty barrels under the platform and lash them on with rope passed through the metal rings Andrew found in the workshop. Nothing says we can't have the cargo crane up there, says McCracken. It's the latest thing. Runs by electricity. He points up to the cranes near the raft. Its hook hangs high above you.
The sun shrinks 5 feet every hour covered.
5 feet every hour. Can you run it? You ask. My bunkmate's the one who runs it. I've watched it, says McCracken. You wonder about the wisdom of getting the raft into the water by using the crane. It's risky. Running the crane may draw much attention to your project and someone could interfere. You could just wait and let the Titanic sink out from under the raft, but the ship may take such an angle that it sinks, that the raft may get tangled or mashed against something on the deck. Do we ask McCracken to run the crane, or do we wait and let the raft float free from the ship naturally? I kind of want to see what happens when McCracken just walks in there and just like demands to use the crane. I think I want to see it. But I think if we let the raft float free, I'm a sleepy boy. So I think after our next game over, I'll probably call it there for the evening. I've been having a lot of fun, but I think 4 might be the one. I think I will go with 93. Kraken to run. Actually, I think there's going to be 2 endings here. Could probably get both endings here pretty well. 93. Okay, let's hoist it with the crane, you say. McCracken releases the storage tie-downs. Jessica rigs some lines from each corner of the raft to meet over its center. McCracken swings the cargo crane over the raft. All you hear is the whir of its gears. The electric motor is quiet. Nobody seems to care that we're doing this. Don't need like a key to start it up. He lowers the crane's boom and poises it over the raft. Jessica grabs the hook and loops the line over it. Take it up, you yell and jump onto the raft. You steady yourself by grabbing the lines that join in a pyramid above your head. You're afraid the whole thing will tip and dump you, but McCracken is smooth and miraculously his raft lifts, levels. The raft lifts. Miraculously, the raft lifts, levels, and gently descends clear of the Titanic side. I thought they were doing something clever there. The lit portholes blink by you as you gently glide into the water. Hold it! Perfect! You shout up to McCracken. Slide down the lines. The Titanic's sinking fast. Oh God. Are some businessmen going to try and get on our terribly made raft? The water rises up the open portholes in front of you and flows into the silver cascade. Jessica, see if you can find your father. We have to unhook the raft soon, you call. She takes off. Along with McCracken, a crowd of people appear at the rail, some holding children. Come on, you motion to them. Jessica slides down with her father and says, Andrew's brought a friend. At the rail, Oscar Kilpatrick is motioning to you. He and Andrew are holding a fat leather satchel with a line tied around it, which they've begun lowering to you. Okay, I see you, you call. Lower away and get down here. The bag is heavy. You're sure some of the gold is in it. For the first time, Oscar acknowledges you with a nod of thanks. He's shaking with fear. Others leap into the water and climb onto the raft. The raft floats well under the glassy water. Of course it does. You think this thing they half-assed, like in the hour the Titanic was sinking, is going to be great? You cast off the lines to get the hook. Get out of here, says Jessica. The ship will suck us down if it sinks. You realize his horror that you have nothing to paddle with. Everyone frantically tries paddling with their hands or feet, but the raft stays glued to the side of the ship. Something bounces off the raft. Startled, you look up. Towering 150 feet straight up above you and tipping over the raft is the Titanic's stern. It's vertical, pointing straight up at the sky. Everyone looks up. She's going to crush us. Help my daughter! Jump! Someone jumps in. If you jump too, go to page 109. If you stick with the ramp, 112. I think if I stick with the ramp, I'm going to be horribly crushed by the if I stick with the raft. But I have to know, like, what happens if I stick with the raft, right? Like, we're on page 96, which is the opposite of 69. So we're going to stick with the raft. I think the raft has served us well. You stay calm. That's not right. What? I guess that's right. You stay calm, fascinated by the spectacle as the great ship's stern blocks the stars. Let's paddle all together. Go, you say. The raft moves a few feet from the ship's vertical side. The Titanic is sinking so slowly and evenly that the only mark of motion is a wing of white foam around the boat. Clusters of people cling to the ship and then drop off into the sea, screaming. Only a few make it to the raft. Look at that fellow, Jessica says. A man is calmly picking his way onto the stern plates as they rise. He's balancing himself perfectly, standing straight up above the stern railing. Always finding the level, he rides the stern straight down out of the night sky. I remember they're talking about the cook. The chief baker was like so damn drunk that he was able to survive the water for a little while. Always finding the level, he rides the stern straight down to the night sky. The stern disappears with a gurgling sound. The man calmly steps off into the water as though he were getting off of an elevator. The chief baker, you say, and throw him a rope. You pull him onto the raft. He recognizes you. He recognizes you. Sorry I didn't bring my bread, but I do have this. He reaches into his hip pocket and pulls around a box of chocolate candies. Shortly after dawn, a ship picks you up. Andrew and his friend gives you a check for $5,000 later that day. You use it to buy a piano. Oh, good. So this one was, we hang out on our terrible jerry-rigged raft. Help some people survive. Got money, bought a piano. What was that other page, though? Is it this one? So we wanted to leave them in the... Oh, God. You know what? Instead of screwing with it, I think I'm going to stick to my guns and do what I said I was going to do and call it there, because this has been a fun and exciting read. I am so tired. It's been a long week, so I think I'm going to get some rest. Thanks for hanging. Thanks for listening. I will see you all later. Have a fantastic evening. I'm a little too low. Why am I so low? Get up there. There we go. All right. Peace out.
Thanks for your time. Have a good day.